Good day. So today we'll be looking at a decrease in demand for a specific good and its market effects. So market effects essentially comprise of the commenting on price, quantity demanded, and quantity supplied. That is the change in quantity demanded and the change in quantity supplied due to a change in a market equilibrium. Initially, as we can see, we are at a market equilibrium indicated as point E naught at a specific price, specific quantity, excuse that. So supply meets our demand. Buyers and sellers are happy with this price and they meet at that price. So before we really go into it, just a little background on demand. So a decrease in demand and why. So a decrease in demand of a good at the existing price is illustrated by a leftward shift of the demand curve, as you can see. This is caused by a change in a demand determinant. Now, to answer such questions, you need to know the demand determinants that will cause a change essentially to our demand schedule. So our demand determinants, as indicated here, comprise of income, preference, other prices, take note that it's other prices and not price, expectations, and the number of buyers. So we have demand is positively related to income. By this I mean that as income increases, demand increases, and as income decreases, demand decreases. So we have a positive relationship with income, a positive relationship with preference. So it moves in the direction that the preference will move. So if preference increases, demand will increase, and if preference decreases, demand will decrease. Other prices is a negative relationship. As other prices increase, demand for this specific good will increase. So it's also, it's actually a positive relationship, because as the price of, say for an example, Coca-cola increases, the price of Coca-Cola increases, the demand for Pepsi will increase as people move away from buying Coca-Cola, as they are essentially substitutes, complements or substitutes. Also expectations is positively related, and the number of buyers is positively related. So essentially these all indicate positive relationships. So going back to our market equilibrium for the demand, we'll just say of Pepsi in this case, since we already used that. Okay, so let's say due to preferences, people move away from the consumption of Pepsi and into consumption of Coca-Cola. In the market for Pepsi, Pepsi cool drinks, the demand for Pepsi will decrease. So as the demand for Pepsi decreases due to any one of these mentioned over here, this has the following effect on the market. So our demand decreases, and as our demand decreases, our consumers now demand a level of Pepsi's at this point, as I am indicating here. However, our producers before market adjustments are still producing at price PE. So we have a situation of excess supply indicated from point here to here. So this is essentially our excess supply. You can calculate this if you had numerical values over here. So all of this is our excess supply, because we as consumers are consuming here while suppliers are consuming here. So we have an excess. So essentially, because we now running an inefficient market, and markets operate at efficiency, and we want an efficient market, the market will adjust. So at this point, we have excess supply, and suppliers are running at an excess. So essentially, they are experiencing more losses than they are incomes. So incomes are less than the costs, production costs. There we go. And due to this, because of this, our price decreases. Now, as we know, our demand schedule, our demand curve is negatively related to price. So as prices increase, demand decreases, and as prices decrease, demand increases. Now, producers decrease price to cover this excess supply, and this introduces a few more consumers. Consumers now find this a tad bit more favorable, find Pepsi a bit more favorable than they would Coke, since Pepsi is now cheaper than it was prior to their change in preference. So now our quantity once again increases by this amount, although not by full amounts, because then obviously our demand has still decreased. Only our quantity demanded here changed, guys, not our demand. Our quantity demanded has changed, so resulted in a slight increase in our quantity and overall decrease in supply. As you all know, price decreases the supply. Actually, just a little adjustment to what I said earlier. The suppliers decrease their production, and a decrease in production will thus result in a decrease in price, thus bringing us to this point. So suppliers decrease production, and this results in a decrease in price, bringing people into the market, bringing consumers back into the market via the quantity demanded increasing. So now we are sitting at this point where our new demand intersects our old supply curve at this price. I think I wrote this down. There we go, at price E1. So just put in all our quantities as the market shifts. So essentially now we are at this point, our new equilibrium, we'll just call it E1, and at our new quantity QE2. So basically when you comment here, you just basically mention the change in price, our decrease in price, our change in equilibrium due to a decrease in the quantity supplied and a decrease in demand. So overall, we have had a decrease in quantity from Q0 to Q2, a decrease in equilibrium from E0 to E1, a decrease in price from PE1 to a decrease in price from PE to PE1, and a decrease in demand from double D nodes to double D1. Thank you very much for watching, and please try and understand fully what these mean and try to use each as an example. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment. Tell me any other suggestions or changes you would like to see on this page.